sometimes we just need to revisit the subject matter. So it's been a little while since we've really drilled in on what you need to do to get your best deal. So Craig, let's jump in. Let's talk about how our listeners can go out there and make sure they are getting the very best deal.
I've put together 5 ways for you folks. We'll keep it simple with 5 steps. This should cover you. I want to say up front, this sounds simple. It should be simple, but for some reason it's not always easy. Emotions do get involved. You get maybe you get a slick salesperson. There's other factors that come into play sometimes that do affect the outcome when you're looking at something as major as a major financial transaction as a mortgage. You can get tripped up in the process a little bit. We want you to remember these key factors and go about this methodically and ensure that you do indeed get the very best deal. So number 1, folks, do your homework up front. A good suggestion, you're doing it right now if you're hearing me talk, listen to Life as You Own It. We're going to give you a lot of good information every week, and we're going to equip you to be an empowered consumer. The more well-informed you are, the least chance you have of overpaying for something, and more likely that you're going to get a great deal. I personally am not going to get ripped off on a mortgage. Why not? Because I'm an expert at it. If you don't have to become an expert, but get your facts straight. Look at the national averages. You can get online and do a little bit of research. Talk to people who know. Get some advice from some folks who may be more experienced than you, but do a little bit of upfront homework so you know what to expect. And then number 2, if possible, get a solid referral. Don't be afraid to ask friends, family members, your boss, someone that you trust. Ask a CPA, a financial advisor, your mom. Someone knows something, they know someone. Doesn't mean because you got a referral you can absolutely count on that being a great experience. You can trust that person 100%. But what it does mean, if you get an enthusiastic referral from someone who says, "Hey, this person really took care of me, did a great job," you can generally put a little bit of stock in that. From there, go straight to step number 3. Now it's time to shop around. Sure, you got a good referral, maybe you got a couple good referrals, and you've gotten some quotes. You've got to shop these quotes around. I suggest getting at least 3 opinions. Get 3 quotes. Now, just shopping around and getting 3 quotes over the phone or having a guy ramble off a bunch of stuff doesn't do you a whole lot of good until you go to step number 4, and that's get every single quote in writing. You need to get a good faith estimate. A good faith estimate, not an email typed out saying it. Sure, you may be able to go back to that guy and say, "Hey, look, you said it right here in your email that you were going to give me this," but once they put on the good faith estimate, that becomes a binding government-regulated quote. And you can go back and say, "Look, you put this on a good faith estimate, now you're changing your story." Now, rolling back, though, to number 3 on the shopping around part, once you have all these in writing and you're comparing side by side, if one lender seems to ask more questions, do a little bit more work, giving you more advice, seems to be a little more conscientious about the way they're doing their job, if you work with a certified mortgage planner, you're probably going to see that more likely than not. Go back and give that person the opportunity to give you the mortgage if they've done the best job for you. Now, what I don't usually advise people to do is take a quote from one guy who is better than another guy and then tell the other guy, "Well, your quote was higher, so I'm going to go with this other guy unless you want to try to beat it." Or they say, "Well, then let me try to beat it." Do you want to reward someone with your business who is willing to overcharge you until you got more educated and got a better deal, or do you want to give the person the business that gave you the best quote up front? My personal opinion is if you're working with a person who gives you the best quote up front and a lot of good information, walks through some planning stuff with you, asks a lot of questions, that's probably the type of transaction it's going to be from start to finish. If you go to somebody who was willing to overcharge you, not give you as much information, or they're just looking to undercut somebody else, chances are the process that you go through will be kind of a quote-unquote undercut process, and maybe you'll have more frustration getting through the loan process or navigating through it with that type of a person. So just pitting quotes against one another is a surefire way sometimes just to frustrate a bunch of people, and you still are left wondering, "Well, I wonder if I could have shaved a little more off or not." So again, shopping around gives you a good basis to know you're in the range, but trying to cut everybody's throat comparing quotes isn't always your best bet. As we mentioned, of course, number 4, get it all in writing. Number 5, finally, folks, do your part in getting the loan process through efficiently. If you want to wreck a good deal really fast, start incurring a bunch of rate lock extension fees or other costs because you didn't disclose all the information up front, or you were really slow about getting the appraisal scheduled, or you weren't returning documents fast enough that they asked for, like your tax returns or pay stubs or an explanation for something on your credit. If you drag your feet, go out of town for a couple weeks or whatever, and don't get back to the lender, and then you're mad later because you're having to pay a rate lock extension fee, it's not their fault. So you can ruin your best deal yourself by not being diligent about getting the process done efficiently on your end. There's your 5 tips, folks.